Brian Billick joining me here on the program. Thanks for calling in, bud. How are you?
How are we doing? Doing great.
Excellent. What did we glean about the Falcons from last night's game? Anything?
Yeah, I think we recognize they're a good team. You can't start out 4-0 in this league and not be a good team. What we saw, like most teams, there's some blemishes there. I think that defense, as well as it's played, a little undersized. That was the thing that jumped out at me, is the way Mark Ingram was able to just bowl over some of the lighter defenders for the Atlanta Falcons. And, you know, are they going to turn the ball over 5 times like they did in the game? Probably not. They've been very good going into it and did it in some rather unique ways. If I've never played center, but I would think I would know if a guy had his hands underneath me or not.
Yeah.
On the one fumble that they had. And the fact that if they're going to be committed to the zone, if you got a good tight end, you can find holes in that zone like Drew Brees did. So that's something they're going to have to deal with. But they're a good, solid team. It's going to make the NFC South very, very interesting. I don't think New Orleans is out of it. If you look at the schedule for Atlanta and New Orleans, it's very doable.
Brian Billick joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Marshall Faulk thought it's possible that Sean Payton dialed up the particular punt block formation using a kid who was from New Orleans in the stands tonight. Steve Gleason had his block punt, man, just sort of pushing that button, thinking if it works, man, what a great boost we would get. Is that do coaches think that way, Coach Billick?
Well, sure, yeah. Anything you're looking for, anything to grab the emotional energy of the club, particularly when you're a rival like Atlanta and New Orleans is, particularly with at home, and New Orleans needs every possible advantage they can get. So, yeah, I wouldn't put it past that. And I don't disagree. You watched the reaction after the game between special teams coach and Sean. You got a sense there was a little something going on there. So, yeah, you're going to press every lever you can to get that advantage.
Coach Brian Billick joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. How badly do the Patriots want to beat up on the Colts? How badly do you think that's?
You know, I've been talking about that all week. Are they more motivated, more focused? That intimates that on other games they're not as motivated. Aren't as, you know, Bill Belichick team's going to be focused and motivated. Are they working any harder? I don't know. Will they enjoy it a little bit more? Yeah, absolutely. And this could get one-sided real quick.
So, did you ever tell a team, I really want to beat the tar out of those guys?
You know, there's very few games you don't go into that there isn't somebody, coach or player, that has an affiliation. You know, it's a transitory league now. So there isn't, you know, somebody usually has some vested interest beyond they were there or the connection that they had. So you're going to tap into that anytime you can.
Brian Billick joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. John Harbaugh's name has popped up as a name that's at the top of USC's list. What do you make of that, Coach?
You know what? We're going to see a lot of names pop up. You know, who knows? Only John can answer that for real. I will say this. John would make a great college coach. He's a son of a coach, knows the system just like Jim Harbaugh, and I know how distressed you are that he's doing so well in Michigan. But they're coaching sons, and John's doing a magnificent job in Baltimore. If that were to, and I have no knowledge of whether he'd be interested in it or not, but going back to college, if it were to happen, I don't know that I'd be shocked.
Do coaches sometimes look at their roster if they're in the pro ranks and say, okay, I have a shot to either stay here and rebuild or just stay here and fight through, you know, what will be a semi-rebuilding process, or I can go and actually entertain the idea of going to college and be the king of a fiefdom. Do NFL head coaches look at a roster and have a career concept?
Sure, particularly when college jobs pay the way they do. You know, in the old days you didn't because they didn't pay as well. But now, both at the assistant level, obviously the head coaches, and that element of they're an absolute and total charge of the program is an allure. And you can see Jim Harbaugh's enjoying what he's doing. He and John, you can imagine, talk on a regular basis. That since it's Nick Saban going back and obviously coveted that. John's got a Super Bowl ring. So to use the John Madden term, what are you going to do, win another? If the coaching desire to be in total control, get back into the interaction with young people at the college level, and to do it at a place like SC where you know they've got the assets available to you, if you're of a mind to do that, it would certainly make sense.
Brian Billick joining me here on the program. The Seattle offense, Coach, it just fascinates me because you've got somebody at the controls who's a dual threat. You've got Marshawn Lynch coming back, who's a beast. You've got Jimmy Graham, who doesn't seem to be a fit for whatever reason. And they had 6 straight punts against Cincinnati last week in a game that they would just wrap up after mopping the floor with someone with a defensive score. What is going on with the 2-3 Seahawks in your mind?
Well, you talk about teams in transition. The defense, let's begin with that. Obviously, a good defense. I don't know that it's the great defense it was, but it's a very good defense. Offensively, clearly they're not running the ball as well. The offensive line is a little bit of transition. And I've been talking on Game Day First a good deal about the fact that Russell Wilson is likely going to be a 500-plus throw quarterback this year. He's never been there. It's been 450, which isn't his fault. He can do it, but run the ball, play good defense. You haven't had to have more than 450 throws on the year. Well, he's on a better than 500 pace. Well, and it's a good pace. He'll be more than 4,000 yards. He'll have maybe 20 touchdowns, but he's on pace for 16 interceptions. He's on pace for 70-plus sacks. That's really the biggest difference right now. He knows how to protect himself when he's out running around, running some of those zone options and out on his own. It's in the pocket where he's getting beat up, and that would be the biggest concern. And they'll get better at it. This is a really good football team. It's not the dominant team it was before, so it too is going through a little transition. No, that happens when you're successful because the good players are going to look to kind of get paid and maybe go someplace else. So it has been a transition.
The Denver offense, is that more transition, or is that the quarterback feeling father time? Coach?
You know what? I don't think we can dismiss the fact that maybe that's where Peyton's at, but you look at it this way. You got a championship caliber defense. They got to be able to run the ball better. And in a given day when the defense isn't getting it done, oh, by the way, I can maybe get my Hall of Fame quarterback to bail us out with one of his patented games. Can he do that a lot? We're going to find out. But, I think we also have to appreciate, and I have no way of knowing what this is the case. Certainly if they win a Super Bowl, you'd anticipate he'd be done. I think we need to appreciate this might be the last we see of a Peyton Manning, and need to appreciate however he's playing, whatever the arm strength is, that this could be the last we see this great future Hall of Fame player.
2 last questions for you. I want to tap on your experience of being a head coach on a hot seat or in the middle of a situation similar to what maybe Don Mattingly is going through right now here for the Dodgers, where a lot of people are just saying, look, there's all these high-priced talent, and no rings, no World Series appearances. It's got to be the manager's fault. Or you, as a coach or manager, have pushed every possible button on this roster that is so well-heeled and so well-moneyed, and they're just not executing. And whose fault is that? It's going to be placed on the lap of the coach or the manager. What if you are that coach or manager? How does that clank around your temples?
You understand that you may not be responsible, but you're going to be held accountable. Because, frankly, at the end of the day, you're the cheapest option to change, to say, okay, we're going to make a change. I don't follow the baseball scene that closely, but as a coach, the good news, bad news is you got great talent. The bad news is, yeah, you got great talent, and so there's an accountability that comes with that. And just like in the NFL, I mean, if what you do works, you're a genius. If it doesn't, you're the village idiot. It's going to fall in your lap, whether you're rotating the outfield or whatever it is they do in baseball in certain places. We become, in listening to it, like I said, I'm not a real baseball person, but I do listen, and some of the chatter, I think baseball, like a lot of sports, has kind of been taken over by the analytics and the matrix, and you do this, and the Moneyball mentality of this, that, and the other, that sometimes you go past what is common sense or what, that gut feeling is just born out of experience. I've been in this situation before. I think we should do this. Sometimes you can outthink yourself, but ultimately the manager is going to be the one held accountable.
Last one for you. Coach Belichick, they've been trying to get him and anybody with the Patriots to shake loose from the script that this is just like any other game on Sunday night. Somebody asked him about, doesn't anybody come up to you in a grocery store and essentially tell you, go ahead and beat these guys? Listen to his response.
Recently, has anyone pulled you aside in the grocery store and been like, Bill, kick Indy's butt, will you?
I haven't been to the grocery store in a couple of years.
Says he hasn't been to a grocery store in a couple of years, Coach. What do you think?
That and the laundry is a dangerous place to be. Because I can tell you, it takes you a long time to get out of that thing. But that's exactly right. The players, I don't worry about my players. And Bill doesn't have to worry about the players and holding at arm's length about the whole Indianapolis thing, and you're overlooking an opponent or it's a big game. You can control it in the building. What you worry about is when they go home. with their wives and kids, and you go to the grocery store and everybody's, ranting on and on. That's when you worry about it. And I would think at some point most people be afraid to approach Bill Belichick in the grocery store. So I don't think it comes up a lot.
I like it. I just don't know if coaches don't do their own shopping. I just don't know that.
Well, we're a breed above now. You get to be big time now. You just have people do that for you.
That's right. Belichick just calls up and says, I want my milk 2%. I want my butter unsalted, right? And just puts it down on the list, and that just shows up in his fridge.
Anytime, I got to tell you, anytime I do a honey-do list and I get to one of those points where I'm going, why am I doing this? I'll ask my wife. I go, you know what? I don't think Bill Belichick has to do this.
Mm-hmm. And how does that go?
She turns to me and goes, hey, you only got one Super Bowl. Shut up and go do it.
That's right. And she tells you, do your job, right?
That's right. Do your job. You only got one Super Bowl. It takes the second one for you not to have to go to the grocery store.
Coach, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. Chat soon. That's at Brian Billick, at Coach Billick here on The Rich Eisen Show.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.